Astrology Addict, and this video is all about how to read and interpret your own natal chart. So this is going to be a pretty long video, but I think it's going to cover all of the basics. So how to pull up your chart, how to read the signs, houses, any possible stelliums, aspects, and intercepted and duplicated signs, and some resources on how to interpret your chart by yourself. So first, you go to astro.com. Astro.com, and you hover over free horoscopes and click Natal Chart Ascendant. And if you don't want to make a profile, you enter in as a guest user, put in your birth information. Oh, that's not a number. Something random. All right, so this right here is your birth chart. It has all your aspects, your signs, and houses. But I'm going to pull up my own just for educational purposes. So how to read the signs off of your chart. You can read off of this table off to the side. See, like, sun is Virgo, your moon is, or my moon is Gemini, my Mercury is Virgo. And if you go down here, my AC, which is my ascendant, my rising, is Virgo. And my MC, which is my medium Caeli, my midheaven is Gemini. Or you can read it off of this circle. And along the edge of the your natal chart are the zodiac signs, starting with Aries over here, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, moving counterclockwise. And the beginning of each sign is the one that is dividing it from the sign before it. So this right here is the beginning of Gemini. This right here is the beginning of Taurus. That's important later when I discuss the positions of the different signs. So if I were to find out, if I wanted to find out what my moon sign was without having all of this, it'd be pretty easy because you can see here's a moon. And what sign is under this, which is Gemini. And if you don't know the different symbols for the different zodiac signs, that's very easy to Google. So if you don't know what the different symbols for the different planets are, you can cheat and look over here. You see, like, if you didn't know this was the symbol for Saturn, you could be like, oh, this is Saturn. Find it in your birth chart, say, okay, this is Saturn, and it's in my, is in Aries, so I have an Aries Saturn. Or down here is Venus, and it is in the symbol Libra, so I have a Libra Venus. So what these numbers over here, though, those show the different positions of the signs of the different positions of the planets within the sign. So my moon is 20 degrees, 27 minutes, and 45 seconds within the sign Gemini. And minutes and seconds are just ways to measure angles. So it's basically about 20 degrees within the sign Gemini. And you can see that over here. So if Gemini starts right here, it's 0 degrees right here. And this angle between the beginning of Gemini and where my moon is, that angle is a 20-degree angle. So that's why it's 20 degrees within the sign Gemini, which is also about 2/3 within that sign because each sign is 30 degrees because they're 12 making up 360. So each sign is about exactly 30 degrees. So if my moon is 20 degrees within that 30 degrees, it's 2/3 in math. So another example, my sun right here. It says over here that it's 3 degrees within Virgo. So Virgo starts not where this line is, but where this line is. I'll explain why that's important to acknowledge later. So the angle between this, and if that were good, is about 3 degrees, or is 3 degrees. So that's how you figure out the positions of your signs. Next comes houses. So houses, there are 12 houses in everybody's chart, and each house represents a different part of your life. Like your 10th house has to do with your careers and your reputation. Your 7th house has to do with your relationships and your partners in life. Or your 2nd house has to do with your possessions. So what really matters though is what planet is in each of your houses. So to find your houses, look for oh, I forgot to mention before, or I'll discuss after I talk about this. I'm sorry. So look for these chunks with in the circle. So my first house is this chunk right between this line and this line. That is my first house. Or up here, my ninth house is between this line and this line. So you can see that if that's my ninth house, you can see my moon is within there. So my moon is in the ninth house. What I was going to discuss earlier that I forgot to mention when I was talking about planetary placements is your rising, your medium Caeli, your descendant, and your Imum Caeli. Those are determined by the positions of your houses. So you can see AC is within the sign Virgo. AC is ascendant rising, and it's also where your first house starts. So my rising is in Virgo, or over here your descendant. It's where your seventh house starts. So my descendant is in Pisces, or your medium Caeli, also known as your midheaven, is where your 10th house starts, which is also in Gemini, and your Imum Caeli, which is where your fourth house starts, it is in Sagittarius. So my Imum Caeli is Sagittarius. So that explains houses. So for stelliums, not everybody has a stellium in their chart. It's actually not very common. I don't see stelliums in a lot of charts that I pull up. Like, I don't have any stelliums. Nobody I know really well has any stelliums in their chart, but you might. So here's an example of a chart with a stellium. So if you look over here at the sixth house, you can see that it is full of planets. You see there's the moon, Pluto, Mercury, and the sun. So that means this person has a sixth house stellium. A stellium is when you have 4 or more planets, major planets, in one house. Or it can also be interpreted when you have 4 or more major planets in one sign, but I like to think of it more as in one house. I like that interpretation better. So if you have asteroids or nodes in that, like your true node, or any asteroids like Ceres or Juno in Ceres, whatever, or Juno in, that doesn't count. It has to be an actual planet like Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So this person has the Moon, Pluto, Mercury, and Sun. So this person has a sixth house Gemini, or sixth house stellium. Sorry, I'm losing control. So what that means to have a stellium is when you have like a real focal point in your chart. And it can be a bit of a burden because you can be kind of dragged down by that big focal point in your chart, and it can give you some strengths depending on which house that stellium is in. But yeah, as I said, it can really bring you bad luck and cause a lot of problems. So next I'm going to discuss aspects. So aspects are special angles in between planets. You have 5 major aspects, and I'm only going to discuss major aspects right now because those are the most important. The major aspects are conjunction, trine, sextile, square, and opposition. And so conjunction is when you have 2 planets that are about 0 degrees from each other. Of course, they're not usually exactly 0 degrees from each other, but just about. And the symbol for a conjunction is when you have a circle with one line coming out. And it is neither a positive or nor negative aspect. It's just a neutral one, and it creates a little focal point within your chart. Next is a trine aspect. A trine aspect is occurs when 2 planets are about 120 degrees from each other, and it's symbolized by a triangle. And trine aspects are positive. where's a trine aspect in my chart? So, for example, I have a trine aspect between my moon and my Venus right here. So this angle, sorry, let me use a different color so you can see that better. Purple, okay. So this angle between my moon and my Venus is about 120 degrees. Of course, it's not exactly 120 degrees. The difference between that 120, that ideal 120, and where that planet is actually positioned is called an orb, but that's kind of irrelevant for this. But so I have a trine aspect between those two because of that 120 degrees, and it's a positive aspect, which means there's harmony in between those two planets. The next one I'm going to discuss is a sextile, and that's represented by a star. Like an asterisk, a star, and that is a 60-degree angle. I have a sextile in between my Sun and my Mars, so this angle right here is 60 degrees. You get the picture. And the next one is square, which is 90 degrees. It's the same concept. And opposition is 180 degrees. So a square is represented by a square, and opposition is represented by two circles with a line connecting them. So how do you read these off of your chart? You can look at these lines, but of course that kind of sucks because there's so many and it can be so hard to read, and they're just like, yeah, I don't like reading aspects off of circular charts. So I suggest using this handy aspect graph chart right here. So you can see if I were to go down, this is the symbol for the sun, and I go down to here, which is the symbol for conjunction, and you go over to which row it's in. It's in the row for Mercury, which means I have a conjunction between my sun and my Mercury. And if you looked up in my chart, you can see my sun's right here, my Mercury's right here. They're not like 0 degrees from each other, but they're very close to each other. Or if I were to go from my moon and you go here, which is trine, and you go over to Jupiter, that means I have a moon trine Jupiter. And if you were to zoom out on my chart and you see my moon and my Jupiter, so that's about 120 degrees between them. So that's how you read different aspects. And when I discuss resources, you'll figure out how to interpret for yourself what the different aspects mean. So next, I'm going to discuss intercepted and duplicated signs. Not everybody has intercepted and duplicated signs. So if you're looking at your chart right now and you're like, I can't find any of them, I fucked something up. No, you didn't. It's fine. About half of the charts, maybe a little less than half, have intercepted and duplicated signs. Half the charts that I've seen, at least. My boyfriend, for example, he has intercepted and duplicated signs. So an intercepted sign, this is going back to when I was talking about houses. An intercepted sign is when you have a sign in which no houses start. So if you were to look at his Gemini, right, the position of Gemini in his chart, you can see that a house starts right here in Taurus, and a house starts right here in Cancer, but no houses start in Gemini. And if you were to go to the opposite side, to Sagittarius, he has a house starting in Scorpio and a house starting right in Capricorn, but there aren't any houses starting in Sagittarius. Those are his intercepted signs. And an intercepted sign is when it affects you because it can repress different different feelings inside of you, and it can cause obstacles. It's a negative thing generally. But also when you have intercepted signs, you always also have duplicated signs because there are 12 signs and there are 12 houses. And a duplicated sign is when two houses start in one sign. So if you were to look over here at Leo, he has his first house right here starting in Leo, along with his second house right here starting in Leo. And if you were to go to the opposite side, to Aquarius, he has his 7th and 8th house both starting in Aquarius, which means that Leo and Aquarius are duplicated signs for him. And that kind of does the opposite of what an intercepted sign does. It kind of brings natural strengths and stuff like that forward in his personality. So how do you interpret all of this for yourself? I suggest, number one, to go to Cafe Astrology. It is my favorite site for chart interpretation. So if you go over to the side where it says birth chart interpretations, you scroll down, you can click on different aspects, different planets and signs. So my Gemini moon, you can figure out what it means by putting moon in the signs, or the different planets in the houses. Like I have my sun in my 12th house. You can go sun in the houses and read what it says about the 12th, having your sun in the 12th house. It has great descriptions, and that can cover aspects, houses, and planets for you. If you want to learn more about any stelliums you might have in your chart, if you Google stelliums and you click on the first link down here, it has great descriptions for the different stelliums that you can read. And if you're interested about intercepted and duplicated signs, I suggest bobmarksastrologer.com. He has great lessons, by the way. If you want to read more about astrology, you can just head over here. And if you scroll down, you can see he has 2 articles, one about duplicated signs and one about intercepted signs. So my boyfriend had a Gemini Sagittarius intercepted. So if he can learn more about himself by reading about right here, Gemini and Sagittarius intercepted. And he also has Leo and Aquarius duplicated, so duplicated signs, Leo and Aquarius. So I think that just about covers everything I need to talk about. Yeah. And if you have any questions, you can ask me, Astrology Addict, tumblr.com. And I hope you have a great day. So thank you for watching.